Hello everyone, welcome to this I don't know if I'm gonna call it a tutorial or you know a showcase, but I'm really excited about this. This is the version 3 of Smart Examiner. Okay, we can see that this is the version 3. So I would like to walk you through some of the new features which we've added. There've been some major improvements, including a new question type. So we now have the multiple choice, multiple select. Okay, which I'm just going to walk you through. It's very similar to the single select. It's just that now for the correct options you can choose multiple, as opposed to just one. So let me just do a very simple choose the answers that apply. So probably let me just use something very simple. Um, which numbers are even numbers? So something very simple. So I could say one, two, three, four, and we know that B and D are the correct answer. So I'm just gonna save this, and then you can see, the preview. You know, Pretty similar to what we had for the multiple choice single select, but in this case, the user can select, multiple answers. The partial scoring option here is similar to what we had in the fill in the blanks. So basically, if partial scoring is set to no, it means that if the user does not get the both answers, like in this case B and D, so if for instance the user selected, as in the student writing the exam, selected, let's say B and C for instance, partial scoring set to no means that the student is going to fail this question completely. Okay, but if partial scoring is set to yes, it means that the value of this correct answer is going to be awarded to the student. Now it's the same policy as we had with the fill in the blanks. So what happens is if the student probably selects, let's say 3 when they were supposed to select 2, we're going to deduct the number of incorrect answers from the correct answers. So basically, what are we trying to say? Okay, the two correct answers are B and D. So we're going to deduct the value of all the incorrect answer from the correct answer. So this is going to be zero point 0.5 because the score of the question is 1. So we have two answers. So it means that each of those answers are going to be worth zero point 0.5. So this is going to be zero point 0.5 plus zero point 0.5 minus zero point 0.5. Or if you want to see it this way, we can look at it like a mathematical expression. So we could say number of correct answers minus number of incorrect answers multiplied by, so all of this multiplied by the value of an answer, so the value of one answer. So if we look at this way, the number of correct answers is going to be 2 minus 1, which we're going to be left with 1. So 1 multiplied by the value of one answer, in this case is 0 0.5, because there are two answers and then the question value is 1. So what this means is that the two of them are going to share this one, so 0 0.5 each. So if we say 1 times 0 0.5, the user is going to be left with 0 0.5. So it's the same policy as we had with fill in the blanks, you know, to make sure that students do not go on to like selecting all of them, because if they select all of them and we don't do it this way, it means that they're always just going to be correct. if we don't do it this way, they're always going to be correct, and that's the idea behind the partial scoring. So that's one improvement to this. So the next thing is, let me just create a question for this. Now we've been able to modify the instructions. Now you can add more information in the instructions. So originally you could just do basic styling with bold, but now you can do a whole lot more. So you have the instructions, you have the questions, you can insert things however you want to insert them. You also have the option of introducing a case study label, which now we added a feature to add audio sounds. Okay, and I'm just gonna pick a sample sound, and yeah, and you have the option of styling it in a number of ways. So seekable means that we can adjust this. Pausable means that we can be able to pause this during the exam. We can be able to stop this during the exam. Want to show volume controls, we can also change the color. For now, let's just leave everything the default and then make some changes, and then you can see how it is. So this is how it is. So seekable means that we can move this left, right, center, and yeah, I can play this audio. Okay, you probably not hear this because it's playing over my headset, but what I could do is I could change that sound a little bit. Give me a second, let me just do some setting to make that work. So if I change this to the speaker, okay, let us see if that plays out loud. Okay, I think I should do this instead.
Good morning, Packham's shipping agents. Can I help you?
Oh yes, I'm ringing to make inquiries about
All right, we're probably gonna do a little bit more on that. For now, let me just do some styling. So if you right click anywhere on this line, okay, if you right click and click on audio properties, and then you can make changes to it. So if I say not seekable, listen, can see the way seekable is. If I say it's not seekable, you're gonna see that it's going to change to just a progress bar. So
You will hear a telephone
we'll not be able
conversation
to.
between a customer and an agent.
So we'll not be able to adjust it, and you can make a whole lot of changes. You can change the border style. I can say solid, and then I want a green border. I want 2 pixels thick. I can change the background of the player to something blue. You can do all of those. You can also use some predefined settings. So I just want a micro player, so this is going to make some changes, and then so we're just gonna have this. So this is like a micro player, and a mini player. So you can use some of the mini player settings, and then you can do a regular player. It's basically a player without the volume controls, and then the standard is having everything you need. So if we say enable pausable, it means that we can be able to pause this during the exam. The students will be able to pause this during the exam. You can also set the maximum number of times this is going to play. You can set the alignment. By default is left, but you can align that to the center. So this is the maximum number of times the user can play this audio during the exam. So you can do a whole lot of customization, and yeah, so that's it for the audio. Okay, you can play around with the settings and see which one best fits. Yeah. So in order to demonstrate some of the feature which we added to the designer, smart examiner in general, let me just create fill in the blank. Now originally, for fill in the blanks, especially when strict ordering is set to yes, okay, originally we had just simple options. So if I needed to put a new entry, I'm just going to say something like I could remember in the previous tutorial we had something with ocean. Okay, and yeah, so by default it's, you know, simple, and then the mark you can actually specify it. Now this type was not there before, so we introduced, you know, a new option here, type. Now this is a type of the answer. Now it can be simple or it can be advanced. Now advanced talks about some pattern matching. So what are we trying to talk about? So let me create the new build advanced entry. Okay, so this is where I insert how the answer is going to be, so the pattern for it. So let's say, you know, as opposed to having, you know, what we had before, an ocean, and then we wanted oceans to also be correct answer, so we can do something like this. So I can say ocean, and then I put a bracket, and then I put s. So what I'm trying to say is ocean is going to be correct, and then oceans is going to be correct, is also going to be correct. So when you put something in parentheses, it means that it's optional, but if it is provided, it's also correct. So you can also test this. So I can say ocean. If I say test, you see it found the match. If I say oceans, it also found the match. But if, for instance, I, you know, just put something different, it's gonna say no match. Okay, so going back to the oceans, if I test it, it's gonna say correct. So now that is, you know, a simple, you know, option. So let's do something a little bit more advanced. So let me copy, you know, something that I have here and put over here, and then show and explain to you how that works. Okay, so now I have this is really it can be complex, but they're all on the same line. Now whenever you have a forward slash, it means that there is an optional answer. Maybe I should just keep it simple for now. Let me just take off this other part. Okay, so this is an optional answer. So basically I can either put meter with m, or meter meter with an s, or meter. So what I'm trying to say is, if I have 0.5 m, I should have a match, obviously. But if I have ms, I shouldn't have a match. Okay, now if I say meter, now this is one of the option, meter, so I can put 0.5 m or any of this. So the slash is just trying to say or. Okay, so any of this I put in this place is going to be correct. That's basically what it means. So if I say meter, meter found the match. If I say meter with an s, it also found a match. Okay, now if for instance I go ahead to add high, like we talked about, this is, you know, optional. So immediately you see something in parentheses is optional, you can add it or not add it. If I say this high, you can see it's correct, but if I put highs, for instance, it's not going to find the match. Okay, so I could also change this to deep. Okay, and you can see that it found the match. So basically this is saying 0.5 meters deep. Okay, now I don't know if you are understanding that, but it's a pattern. Okay, so whenever you see a forward slash, okay, it means that it is an option. Okay, so there are like different options which can be picked from. So this one is compulsory because there is nothing in between. The space is also compulsory, but coming down here I can either put m, or I can put meter with or without an s, or I can use, you know, the American spelling of meter with or without an s, and then I can also add a high or a deep, you know, so to the answer. If I don't specify it, it's still going to be correct. Okay, so I'm hoping you understand that. Now let me introduce the full thing which we had before. Now you would notice in this case, this was taken from, you know, a question which we are also going to talk about. When I open the project, we're going to talk about it and you'll probably understand it. Basically, from that audio which was playing before. Okay. So now, if you notice this, there is an or here, but this or, this slash, which I'm going to call or, okay, has a space before and after it. Now, whenever there is an or with a space before and after it, it talks about another possible set of answers. So this one here is a possible set of answer. So I can provide it in this, or I can use this, or I can use this. Sorry, this, or I can use this. So basically, we have about four different answers here. Now you can split them into four different advanced matching. Okay, as I would probably get to show you later, you can split them or you can put them as one. Okay, but if you're putting them as one, you have to separate each answer group with a space, a forward slash, and a space. That's what the parser uses to identify different component answers. Okay, so what are we trying to say? So I could either put 0.5 meters deep, or I could say half a meter. So I can probably say half a meter. Remember that a is parentheses are optional, so I could skip this. I could also skip this. I could say half meter. In this case, I'm just going to say half a meter, and if I test it, you can see it's correct. But if I say half a meters, it's not going to be correct because there is no optional s in here. Okay, as we had here, there's no optional s in here. So I could say half a meter high. That is also going to find a match because we have half a meter high. Okay, now this brings us to another thing. Now remember that we said whenever there is a forward slash, it means that it's an or. But in this case, we do not want to use that as an or because we want to do 1/2 as half. Okay, so what do we do in this case? Because if I do 1/2 meter, now as expected, it actually failed. This is because it's going to split this and then use this as 1 or 2m. So if probably I did this 1m, we'll see that I found the match because this is like saying 1 or 2m. So any of this which I put and then I put m, it's going to be correct. But what we actually want is 1/2 and not this what it's giving us. So what we're going to do in this case is to escape this, because this forward slash is part of the answer and not a pattern which the parser is supposed to understand and interpret. So in order to do that, we have to put a backslash. So putting a backslash before it is going to escape it. So if we do 1m now, it's not going to find a match. But if we do 1/2 right now, we found the match. So what we had to do is to escape it because this forward slash is part of the answer. So that's one way to go. Now I can save this entry, and then it's part of the answer set, and then it saves it as advanced. You can also type it, if you can build it yourself here without having to go there. You don't want to do a lot of testing. Maybe it's a simple one, like doing something like 0.5 slash meter, slash meter. This is pretty simple. You don't need to do a whole lot of tests. So I can just change it to advanced. You have to change it to advanced for it to be a pattern. If it is simple, it's going to do one-on-one matching. Okay, one-on-one matching means that it's going to match it exactly the way it is. But if you go to advanced, switch the type to advanced, it's going to match based on patterns. Okay, so that's one thing with the new matching with fill in the blanks. Now I'm going to open a sample project. you know. Okay, continue without saving. And yeah, we have, sample fill in the blanks, which is something like I created before. And this is single select. And this is the question that that pattern was drawn from. Now, so this is like a listening exercise that can be used with the audio to create new streams of question. So in this case, I'm just going to play the audio, but I'll probably change this to C cable so that I can be able to move this, because I want to, like, jump. I don't want us to just listen to the whole audio. Okay, there are a couple of answers over here, and like we had 0 0.5 meters. Now in this case, you have to put one answer here, which is going to be a simple match, and then if you want to introduce some different patterns, just like we had the other time, we can do that. Now in this case, I even forgot to escape this, so I'm just going to introduce the backslash to escape this 1/2, which we had here. Okay, so let me just play this and then skip it to one point, and then you listen to what was said, talking about this too, what was said, and then how we were able to, you know, get the answer. All right.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a customer and an agent at a company which it's
Westall College.
Is that Westall?
Yes, college.
Westall College. And where's that?
It's Downlands Road in Bristol.
Oh, yes, I know it. And the postcode?
It's BS8 9PU.
Right. And I need to know the size.
Yes, I've measured it carefully and it's 1.5 meters long,
Right.
0.75 meters wide,
Okay.
and it's 0.5 meters high or deep.
Great. So I'll calculate the volume in a moment and get some quotes for that. But first, can you tell me, very generally, what will be in the box?
Yes, there's mostly clothes
Okay.
and there's some books.
Okay, good. Anything else?
All right, I had to stop that. If you were listening, you'd probably see that in this week, the person was like 0.75 meters. Okay, now 0.75 meters is 0.75. Okay, if we come to the other options, I had to split this. I could have put them in one as we did here. So I could have put them in one like this, just as we had here, but I'd have to escape this, obviously, because 0.75 is also 3/4. Okay, I could have put them here. We could also put 3/4. As you can see, there's an option here. So if I wanted to do a match, I could either do 3/4 or 3 and a dash quarter, or 3 and a space and quarter. So this advanced matching, I could do this in one, but I had to split them into the different components, as you can see here. So I put this first, as you can see, and then I put this next, and then I put this next, and then I put this next. Actually, I'm supposed to escape this. Okay, so you can do that, or you can do it the way we did this, okay, whereby we put everything in one. Okay, but to separate them, you have to remember that if you're doing everything in one, the different answer components, there has to be a space before and after the slash. If not, it's just going to see it as an option of the same answer. But if there is a space and a slash and a space, it's going to see it as another answer that you just merged in one. But the best thing might be, just put them separately the way we did them here. Just put them separately the way we did them here, and then you'll be good. And then for this other one, there were some books. I could easily have just put it simple like there's some books or books, or I could have introduced a pattern saying some books. I could do that, and then if I say books and I test it, it's going to find it. And if I say some books and I test it, it's also going to match this pattern. So I could have done that, but this was pretty straightforward. So it's either they say some books or books, so I just used the simple. All right, so that's about it for the fill in the blanks and the designer. Okay, so we'll be moving on to the manager. Okay, so there are a few things which we did, okay, in the manager, and so one of those is you can now do a live monitoring of student exams. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to connect over TeamViewer to my remote computer, okay, which I have on the network, and I'll be using this user test to log in. The examinee name is Estachino. All right, so I'll be using this to log in. So that's what I'm going to do. So if I go to the remote computer and I say test, and then I put hidden as the password, which it is, I can be able to log in for this paper. Okay, it sounds very funny, multiple paper exam, but it was just a test. So there is an exam here called multiple paper exam, which this user is mapped to. So I am going to, let me go back to my TeamViewer so you can see what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to start the exam. Now this is me starting the exam over TeamViewer. Right now we also made some modifications. As you can see, you now have a whole lot of screen real estate to put description and instructions, and yeah, we reduce the size of the exam content so that instructions can show better now. So I'm just going to say begin exam. Okay, now this is me doing this over TeamViewer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to reduce, like minimize this TeamViewer. Okay, and if I come down here, I can see monitor examinee's exam. So you can do this from the exam end, or you can also do this from the examinee end. So if I come here, say monitor this exam. Okay, so if I click on this, it's going to initialize and then it's going to pop up. So now we are seeing a live screen monitoring of this user. Now this is not TeamViewer. Okay, maybe I should even disconnect this TeamViewer. Now this is TeamViewer and this is not TeamViewer. So this is TeamViewer, this is not TeamViewer. You can see the title, and then yeah, so I'm just going to reduce this. And now you cannot make selections, okay, as you can do with TeamViewer. No, this is just screen monitoring. Okay, I cannot make sections. I can just watch what the user is doing. I can do a whole bunch of things. So I can show, if I click on show the user details, I can see who is actually writing this. I can send the command and see it, and then I can hide the command as well. Now I can also capture the webcam. So this is very good if you want to like see that the person writing the exam is the same person that is supposed to write the exam. Okay, so I'm just going to click on capture webcam. Now in most systems, this would require permission from the user's computer first before it actually does the capturing. So after it captures, it's going to show on the screen. Okay, I just use my hand to block the camera, but you get the idea. So you can see who is writing this exam, and then you can also show the details and verify that the person that is actually writing the exam is the person there. You can use this instead of moving around, you can just stay from a particular place and then do that. So you can also capture and save the screen. You can, if you click on this button over here, this bottom right, you can save this a screenshot of this to your desktop and then do whatever it is you want to make do with it. So I'm just going to close this for now because I really don't want to monitor that user again. So I'm gonna revert back to the team viewer and just be done with this exam because there's something I also want to show from the results over here. So I'm going to quickly answer this. Okay, I would say, I'm just gonna pick some random answers. I would say max here. I would say all. I would say guitar. I would say interpersonal skills, and then I'll be done with this paper. Yes, begin next paper. Okay, I would say L. I think I've done this before, and I think this is 6%, and this is 160. I'm just gonna try to get all for this one, and then yeah, this should be 44. So let's finish this exam, and we got 7 out of 10. We can view correct answers. I think this was set to we can click on view correct answers over here. This was set to show answers after the exam, so we can always verify and validate some of the things. So there are also explanations following. Now going back to the manager, okay, we can click on reload and we can see the score. Now we added a new feature that allows you to graphically see the performance of students in an exam. So if you come to reporting, you see graph and stats for, we can click on multiple paper exam. So we can see the 2 students that have taken this exam. Okay, we can see their performance. We can also see some stats over here. We just have 2 examinees and both of them have written, and there's no unwritten. So it also breaks it down to total and then by the paper. Okay, there were 2 papers in this. One is logical reasoning and one is data interpretation, as you can see here as well. So the blue one is data interpretation. That's what they got. That's the score they got. So this person got 4 and 4 in both of them. So logical reasoning totaling 8. So same thing with this. This person got 2 for logical reasoning, and then got 5 for data interpretation, as you can see here. So you can see the highest score, the lowest score, the mean score, the median score, and the mode score. So you can get some insights as to the performance on this exam graphically now. So that's one thing we have also added. So there is yet another thing which we did on the manager. So if we come to reporting and we can say build reports for let's look at this multiple paper exam which we just did. So originally if you wanted to generate the reports like for the scores for an exam, you can only you could only have done that on the total scores. So let us say in this paper we had 2, in this paper we had, in this exam, sorry, we had 2 papers, and the totals, the score which you would have generated from the reports would have been for the total score for both papers. But now we added a scheme to enable you generate reports for the individual paper components. So let us say you wanted to do first name, last name. These options were not there. The joints options over here were not there before. So what you could have done is to say you want to see a total score and then the maximum score. So this is what you would have seen. So it would have been the total score and then the maximum score. But now you can see it based on the paper. So if for instance I say I wanted to see the joints paper title, the joint total score, and then the maximum score. So this is what you're gonna see now. So you can see that the logical reasoning, this is the value of it, and this is like the user getting 4 out of 5, in this case 4 out of 5. This sort of student got 2 out of 5 in logical reasoning and then got 5 out of 5 in the data interpretation. So you can see the total score, and then you can see the ones for the individual papers as well. So you can always generate this, to PDF or Excel as you would. Now, one of the thing which we got some feedback for was the launcher. Now the launcher remembers the IP address you inserted last. So if I do this now, you can see that it remembers the IP address. So students do not have to keep typing this over and over again. If it changes, immediately you change it and then launch, it saves, remembers. So that's one thing we've also done. Okay, this has been, a long tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this, and then hopefully we're going to add a few more features before we release it in a month or two. So the new version 3 comes with an ability to stop student exams, like I said earlier. Okay, I really don't know why people might want to use this, but one of the requests which we got frequently was that some students come late to the exam hall, and they do not want the students to have exactly the same time as those that came on time. Okay, so we decided to implement this feature as an addition to the version 3. And I believe you already know by now that the version 3 is a subscription package. Okay, which means that you have the ability to upgrade to any new version that comes up, as well as the new question types. Yeah, so we're going to demonstrate this. I'm going to go back over here, and I will try to log in. Okay, now I'm going to try to log in. Now, in order to demonstrate this, there's several ways which you can attempt to stop the user exam. Okay, I'm going to, if I come, you can only start the user exam after they've started. So they must be in the connected state before you must stop the exam, because right now if you come over here, the exam has not started, so you can stop what has not started. Okay, so when the user is in the ready state, so if I begin this exam now, I just clicked on begin the exam from my other computer, and if we come here, we can see that the exam has begun. All right, so if you come here now, you can now click on stop the exam. Now, in order to show you this, I will go to the monitoring environment. So I'm going to go to monitor this examinee's exam, and let me reduce this screen so that we can see all the buttons. Yeah, so this is we doing screen monitoring using the new version 3 feature. Okay, so we cannot do selection, obviously. It's only screen monitoring. We we restricted that feature. You cannot interfere with the student's exam. So yeah, so basically they don't know that you're even viewing them. So that's how it works. So there's a stop exam button over here which you can use to stop the student exam, but I'm gonna go to the other side and then pick a few answers first of all. So I'm just gonna pick maybe 3. I'm going to just pick 3, and then while we're here, you can just click on the stop exam button. So if you click on the stop exam, the command is going to be sent to the examinee, and then you can see that it automatically ended, and then you can see server issued command, and yeah, you can see that it stopped the exam, and then yeah, the report was successfully posted. So that is it for the stop exam. I don't know, yeah, you can use it if you want to, but you always get a prompt, and you want to be careful about using it. So I'm just going to close this as well. So you want to be careful about using it, because once you stop the exam, the students can only start after you clear the results. Okay, so the next thing which we added, okay, I know that we've talked about a number of things with version 3 already in the previous video, which we're going to merge with this. Okay, but one other request which we got, fairly regularly was the ability to delete multiple examinees at once. Okay, currently there's no way to do that, and I think the only way to do that, and probably going forward, the only way that's going to be is using groups. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to create a simple test group, and I'm just going to call it test. Okay, and I'm just going to add some students, some examinees right now from an Excel sheet, or rather CSV file. I don't have Excel installed on the system, so I'll say skip the first line and assign to a group. Okay, so I'm not going to add all of them because there's a lot of examinees in that file. So probably after the first 20, I'm just gonna stop it. Okay, so if I start, yeah, great. So there are over 1,000 examinees in that file. So I really don't need everything to. Yeah, so I'm just gonna click on finish. So as you can see, we can find all the examinees here. Coming down to the groups, we can find all these examinees here. Now all these examinees are in this group. Okay, we can easily remove them from the group, and then we can also add a few other persons to the group. Okay, now let me show you how you can add multiple examinees. If you come to add multiple examinees here, okay, it's a new feature which we added. If you come to add multiple examinees, you can pick students, you can select all and add to a group. You can search for examinees matching a particular search field, and then add them if you want. Okay, so that's one way to go about it. But if that is not sufficient, you can also add examinees that belong to a group from matching files. So okay, let me do something. Let me clear this test, but before I clear this test, you will notice this delete group examinees button. So this is where you delete multiple examinees. If you delete a group, the examinees are not going to go. Okay, you need to click on the delete group examinees for them to be deleted. All right, so if I delete this group right now, it means that okay, these examinees we just added, they're not going to belong to any group. They still exist, but the group is gone. So I'm just going to recreate that group. Okay, I'm going to say test and then test. So I'm going to create this group. So let's say I already added these examinees. For some reason I did not put them in a group. Okay, I forgot, or something, I forgot to add them to a group. How do I delete these examinees right now? If you were to do that, you would either have to come manually and start deleting them one after the other. You come here and then you click on delete examinee, or you can right click on them and click on delete examinee. What we now had to do was to now you can now add examinees from file. So let's say you added them from file and you forgot to specify a group to add them during addition. So one other way you can now do is to come to add file matching examinees. So basically what we're trying to say is we're going to look at this file, okay, and then we're going to match examinees in this file that are already existing on the system, and then we're adding them to a group. That's basically what this does. Okay, and so let's choose that file again, and I'm going to click on skip the first row, and I would say terminate process on error discovery. And yeah, so it's automatically assigning to this group now. Okay, so I'm going to click on next. I'm going to say okay, great. I was supposed to do something first before going ahead with this, and yeah, I was supposed to do something first. So what we're gonna do is to because the best way to do that is to like match them based on a particular field. Okay, I don't have Excel. I was supposed to create a full name entry, because one of the ways you can use to do matching is by full name. Currently in that file we just have first name, last name, and what have you. So what I'm gonna do is to export the results, of the students. First of all, I'm just gonna export, rather export, their basic data, which will include the examinee code, in order to just, do some kind of matching. So I'm going to say, I want the first name. And basically, I just need, yeah, this should work. So I just want to export this to an Excel file. Okay, so if I export this to an Excel file, I'm just gonna say temp users. Excuse me, I'm not really in the best form today. I don't really know. Okay, so now we've exported them. So what I'm going to do is to come to our groups now. Okay, if I come to matching examinees, I'm going to pick those temp users file which I just created. Okay, I'm going to skip the first row, and what I'm going to do here is to map this, and basically I only need one field. Okay, I just need, to map one field. I can either, use over here, you can see that I can either use a full name, a student code, or an additional field which I specified. So if, for instance, in a school setting I specified an additional field with like a matric number, I can use that to actually do matching. Okay, so I'm just going to use this, okay, to match them, and then it's going to add all those in that file to this group. So as you can see now, we have, this students over here in this group, and then, I can delete the group examinees, so I can delete all of them, over here. Yeah. So another thing which we added, which you can do, is to, update examinee information. Okay, so for instance, let's say you added examinees, okay, and for some reason you either forgot to add a field, or you added, wrong fields for, I don't know, a number of people, or you want to update examinee information. So let us say you have this Excel file which you always use to update, examinee, information, and then let's say something changed, like phone number or email or whatever you want to update. So what you would have to do, we added a new, field here that says update existing examinee if the examinee code matches. Now, for this to work, you would have to, specify the examinee code. Okay, one way you can use to do this, like we, talked about, we just demonstrated, is by exporting those that are already in the system. It will export the examinee code, or while like adding for the first time, the very first time, you would want to like specify examinee codes for each of the examinees so that you can easily match them together. Okay, because if you don't specify this, if it encounters a duplicate ID, it's going to fail. Okay, but if you specify this and then there is, a match for the examinee code, it's going to update with the new, data which you specified. Like I said, I really do not have Excel on the system, so I can't really demonstrate that right now with the data which I just exported, because I exported to Excel. So you're just gonna take my word for it. So another way you can use to also add examinees to a group, we added something in reporting. So if you come to basic reports, and I'm just gonna keep this simple for now. I'm just gonna say view reports. You would see add all examinees to a group button. So you can generate a custom report, maybe for people or students or examinees matching a particular, filter criteria, and then add them to, some group. So when you add them to the group, you can now go ahead, to deleting the examinees. That's several ways which you can use. So we've made it easier now, to allow adding to groups, and then using that to do anything you want to do. You can use that to map, to an exam, and or delete the examinees if you want. So I think the last thing I'm going to show you about the version 3 is an online designer. So if you go to designer.name, you're gonna see this design. I'm just gonna expand this a little bit so we're gonna have a little bit more screen real estate. You can always send this to full screen. So it's basically works for the version 3. So if you export an exam from the online designer, it's only going to export work from version 3 onwards. So it basically works the same way as the desktop version. So there's really not much difference. It's just user interface that could change a little bit, but everything remains the same. Basically, you can see the 3 question types currently, and yeah, you can do what you want to do. So choose the correct option. Yeah, the only thing I'm just gonna say is that the online version is restricted in a few things. So if you're adding an audio file, it's restricted to like 10 megabytes maximum if you're working with the online version. So yeah, I think that's about the restriction. Okay, thank you so much for watching this. This has been a long video already, and see you in the next.